I like your Christ, but I don't like your Christians because your Christians are so unlike your Christ. That's what Mahatma Gandhi said once when he was being interviewed by a Christian. And after all the news recently with Ravi Zacharias, Carl Lentz, and other well-known Christian leaders, a lot of people around the world are looking at that and they're going, I kind of agree. So in this video, I'm going to share one thing, one simple truth that has the power not only to change your life and your legacy, but the power to change the world. It's the fact that people won't follow a God that they can't see lived out through your life if they don't see your character lining up with your Christ. Hey, it's Adam Simon. Welcome to Responding to the Call, where every week I help you go deeper with your faith, your family, and your finances. If you're new here, that blesses you in any way, hit that like button and then consider subscribing if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any new content. All right, let's jump into it. You know, I'll never forget when I got hired onto the fire department, one of the guys was just kind of asking me about myself. And when I told him I was a Christian, he got this look on his face and he goes, "Really?" He goes, "We've had guys like you around here before. Come talk to me in 6 months and we'll see where you're at." I mean, that's a pretty bold thing to say, I thought, but he was basically saying that he and all the other guys that I'm going to be working with day in and day out, they're going to be watching to see if my life matched my mouth. Because they've watched other Christians around the firehouse. They've seen other people say that they love Jesus and they've led Bible studies, but they'd watch those same guys go out to the bars or cheat on their wives or do all kinds of other lifestyles that are inconsistent with Christian character. And really, that's the story that's been playing on a loop right now, right? At least in the public eye. Years ago, you had Jimmy Swaggart. Then you have Ravi, Carl Lentz, Bill Hybels. Because just like the guy at work, the watching world looks at that and they go, yep, there's another one. That's why I don't believe any of it. Because when we're not living consistent lives of character, people see right through it. One author put it this way. He said, it's a profound error for some leaders who have such inconsistency between their preaching and their living. Preachers who study hard to preach faithfully, but study little or not at all to live faithfully. Oh, how curiously I've heard some men preach and how carelessly I've seen them live. Because it's about leading by example, walking the talk, and it just proves the fact that your life and your legacy is going to be watched. It's true for all of us, no matter what context you're in, and it's especially true when you're in a position of leadership. And I love the way that Gypsy Smith put it. He said there's actually 5 Gospels: Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, and the Christian. The problem is that most people never get around to reading the first 4. And D.L. Moody said out of 100 men, 1 will read the Bible, the other 99 will read the Christian. Because your life and the way you live is one of the primary ways that people are going to experience Jesus Christ. And I pray that just the weight of that truth sinks down into every fiber of our souls, because every action, every word, every step we take is being watched by the world around you, by your families, by those under your leadership, by the unbelieving world around you. And some people are watching just so they can have some excuse to slam Christianity. So here's a tip. Don't give them one. And that does not mean that we're perfect or that we're never going to make mistakes, because we're human. And sometimes being honest and genuine lets people see that you are real and that you are willing to admit when you're wrong. And I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. But the point is that we're ambassadors for Christ. The world is watching our every move, good, bad, or ugly. And the Apostle Paul puts it this way. He says, we are living epistles, known and read by all men. We're literally God's love letter written to the world. And what do letters do? They carry messages. So the question is, what message has your letter been telling people lately? If we preach the life-changing gospel to those around us, they expect to see that life change in us. So I'll ask, do the people around you see the life change in you? Do our kids and our coworkers, our neighbor, our family, our friends, do they see the same person in public that you are in private? Or do they see someone who says they're changed but don't consistently live like it? Because people don't just want to hear about our faith. They don't want to just hear about our love for God. They want to see it. They want to feel that conviction in our bones. And I think what will ultimately win people over is a life lived consistently for God. We can't just simply lead people by giving them content, by transferring information all the time. They have to see conviction and humility, and they have to see love in action. That's not in a fake way either. It's just in a real, tangible, felt way that people can see, that people can believe, and that people can follow. Paul puts it this way in his letter to Timothy. He says, be an example for all believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. Give your complete attention to these matters. Throw yourself wholly into them so everyone will see your progress. Watch your life and your doctrine closely. Persevere in them, because if you do, you'll save both yourself and your hearers. People will only follow you outwardly if they believe you inwardly. And if we really believe that, it means that at some point we're going to have to be open and accessible. And if we're going to be open with people and we're going to allow them access to our lives, it means that at some point, at some level, we're going to have to be transparent. And I think that makes us a little nervous because transparency is risky, right? Because to be really transparent, you have to be honest, you have to be humble, and you have to be sincere. And sometimes along with that, it brings this sense of vulnerability. And if we're being honest, none of us likes to feel vulnerable. But why? What's at the root of vulnerability? Maybe it's this deep-seated fear of just being exposed. It's this thought that, if we let our guard down or we let our walls down to this persona of leadership that we've built up around us, that people are going to see us like we really are. And that's a scary thought sometimes. Because honestly, I think being vulnerable draws out what may be two of our deepest fears: the fear of being embarrassed and the fear of feeling inferior. Because as human beings, we don't want to make a mistake. We don't want to look stupid or like we don't have it all together, or like we don't know what we're doing. We want people to see us as smart and competent. We want people to find value in what we have to say or what we have to offer. So what do? We try to look our best constantly. We're always trying to shine up the outside of that apple so nobody sees the dents and the bruises and the imperfections in our lives. So I want to say something just to set us free, to give us some breathing room and not put so much pressure on ourselves. It's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to not have all the answers all the time. I mean, when did we start believing the lie that we always have to have it together? Or that we're the ones that have to have all the answers, or that we can't be wrong at times? Why do we put that pressure on ourselves? It's a lie. And here's the truth. Genuine leadership starts with a person who knows who they are and who God wants them to be. It's someone who can genuinely and honestly come to the cross of Christ, lay down their crown, lay down their ministry, lay down their position, and ultimately lay down their heart at his feet. So let me set you free with the definition of success. Success is remaining faithful to the process that God's laid out for you. It's being consistent in your character, being obedient to the call of God on your life with the people and the message that he's entrusted you with. It's simply being faithful to do the next obvious thing for the glory of God, because God measures success in terms of integrity, faithfulness, and devotion to what he's asking you to do. So I hope this encouraged you. And in the end, just remember this: God's not asking you to be successful. He's asking you to be faithful. And the level of your faithfulness determines the measure of your success. So I'll see you next time. And until then, keep seeking Christ first in your life.